This law hits a nerve because on the surface, isolation seems smart. It feels like protection. It feels like control. But Greene flips that thinking. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous.
It's the illusion of safety. You shut the doors, cut the noise, surround yourself with trust, and think that's strength. But isolation is a trap disguised as a defense.
Because when you cut yourself off, even with good intentions, you also cut off information, movement, influence. You stop being part of the flow that actually keeps you powerful.
Exactly. Power isn't static, it's relational. It moves through people, through perception, through presence. The moment you remove yourself from the network, you start losing leverage.
And here's the irony. The more power people accumulate, the more tempted they are to retreat, to avoid threats, to stay safe. But that retreat usually marks the beginning of the fall.
Look at history. Kings who trusted no one, CEOs who stopped listening, leaders who surrounded themselves with yes men and locked the world out. They didn't just fall, they were blindsided.
Because isolation breeds delusion. Without friction, challenge, or feedback, you start believing your own story. And once you do that, you stop adapting.
And in power, stagnation is death. The world doesn't pause just because you've built a wall. The players keep playing, the power keeps shifting, and suddenly you're out of step with the very game you're trying to control.
And people confuse solitude with isolation. Solitude is strategic, it's chosen, it's reflective. But isolation is defensive, it's built on fear, and fear always leaks into leadership.
That fear shows up as over-control, as silence, as detachment. And the people around you, they notice. They stop sharing, they stop trusting. And now you're not just alone physically, you're alone mentally.
That's the danger Greene is pointing to. Fortresses don't just keep people out, they keep you in. They shrink your access to reality. And without access, power decays.
So the real strength? Staying in the room, staying connected, letting information flow, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it threatens your ego.
Because the moment you start hiding, the moment you close too many doors, someone else is already walking through the ones you stopped watching.
Let's get into how people see you when you isolate, because that perception matters. When you withdraw too much, it's rarely interpreted as strategy, it's interpreted as fear.
Exactly. You think you're protecting your space, your mind, your energy, and maybe you are. But to others, it looks like you're afraid to engage, afraid to confront, afraid to be challenged.
And fear weakens the power dynamic. The moment people sense you're hiding, they stop fearing you. They stop respecting you. Because power that retreats starts to smell like weakness.
And here's where it gets dangerous. Isolation doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see them. When you're disconnected for too long, you start inventing threats that aren't real. You build narratives. Paranoia creeps in.
And paranoia feeds control. You start micromanaging. You stop listening. You overcorrect. And in trying to maintain power, you actually begin losing it, piece by piece.
That's why real leaders stay accessible, not exposed, accessible. They stay in the current. They talk to people outside their circle. They gather information, even if it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable.
Because that discomfort is data. It tells you what's real. And when you stop receiving it, your decisions stop being grounded. You're ruling from assumption, not awareness.
And let's be honest, isolation feels good at first. No criticism, no noise, just control. But that's the trap. Comfort isn't clarity. Silence isn't safety. It's just a slow drift into irrelevance.
And once you lose touch with the people you're supposed to influence, you lose the ability to influence at all. You can't lead what you don't understand, and you can't understand what you refuse to face.
That's why Greene warns against fortresses, not because boundaries are bad, but because too many boundaries become barriers, and power dies behind barriers.
So the question isn't just, how am I protecting myself? It's, what am I cutting myself off from in the process? Am I protecting my energy or isolating myself from the truth?
Because power isn't about hiding from threats, it's about navigating them publicly, confidently, visibly. And you can't do that locked inside a fortress of your own making.
History is full of cautionary tales about isolation. Leaders who locked themselves behind walls, literal or psychological, thinking they were securing their legacy, when in fact they were signing their downfall.
One of the clearest examples, Louis XVI. In the years leading up to the French Revolution, he was surrounded by advisors who filtered everything. He stayed in Versailles, physically and mentally removed from the people.
And because of that, he had no pulse on the streets, no real sense of the desperation building under the surface. So when the storm came, he had no defense because he didn't see it coming.
Same with Saddam Hussein. He trusted no one, built a regime of fear, lived in palaces, moved in secret, rarely showed his face. For years that worked, until isolation made him blind. His enemies coordinated while he disappeared deeper into his fortress.
These stories repeat themselves. The fortress becomes a trap. The power turns brittle, and when it breaks completely because there's no support network left.
Now contrast that with someone like Winston Churchill. In the middle of World War II, he didn't hide in bunkers. He walked the streets. He visited bomb sites. He stayed among the people, even when it was risky.
And that visibility became part of his power. It wasn't just about being seen, it was about staying connected. He knew isolation would breed fear, not just in him, but in the public.
Or think about modern leadership. CEOs who stay on the floor with employees, artists who actually listen to their audience, political figures who don't hide behind PR filters. They stay present, and that presence fuels their authority.
Because connection is control. It gives you access to mood, perception, energy. And when you have that, you can steer it. But when you isolate, you surrender that power to noise and rumor.
You create a void, and power doesn't like voids. If you're not filling the space with clarity, someone else is, with speculation, doubt, or agenda.
And here's the truth. People respect strength, but they connect with presence. When you disappear too far, too long, you lose both. They forget how you move. They stop listening. They move on.
That's why this law isn't about being everywhere. It's about refusing to disappear, about staying relevant through proximity, not just legacy.
Because once your name becomes distant, your influence follows, and no fortress, no amount of control can bring it back. Let's bring this into the present, because in today's world, isolation doesn't always look like locking yourself in a castle. Sometimes it looks like boundaries, like protecting your peace, like hyper-independence.
Exactly. We've dressed isolation up with noble labels. We call it productivity. We call it focus. We say, I don't need anyone. But the truth is, cutting off from people, from feedback, from tension, it dulls your edge.
Power isn't built in echo chambers. It's built in interaction, in navigating noise, in knowing how to move through chaos without losing center. And you can't learn that alone.
You can sharpen your craft in solitude, but you test your power in public. You refine your voice in private, but you prove it in conflict, in conversation, in connection.
The rise of remote everything, work, relationships, communication, has made it easier than ever to isolate. You can live, build, and lead without ever really being seen, but that comes at a cost.
And the cost is relevance, influence, energy. You start to forget how to read people, how to pivot in real time, how to lead when the situation isn't curated.
And let's not confuse isolation with independence. Independence is about capacity. You can operate alone if needed. Isolation is about avoidance. You choose to stay disconnected, even when connection would give you leverage.
Because isolation feels safe, but it's not neutral. It weakens your instinct. You stop noticing signals. You stop hearing the tone shift. You stop seeing the moves before they happen.
That's what Greene is warning against. Fortresses feel like control, but they're actually containment. You build a wall thinking you're keeping threats out, but you're really keeping your instincts in.
And when instinct dies, power dies. Because now you're not moving with the rhythm of the world, you're reacting too late, or worse, not at all.
So ask yourself, What walls have I built that no longer serve me? Where have I gone silent, not because it's wise, but because it's comfortable?
And what am I missing in the name of self-protection? Who's passing me by while I stay locked in strategy, locked in planning, locked in fear?
Sometimes the boldest move isn't building higher walls, it's stepping outside of them, into the discomfort, into the noise, into the game.
So the question becomes, how do you escape the fortress once you've built it? Because for a lot of people, isolation isn't intentional anymore. It's just become routine.
The answer is simple, but not easy. You re-enter the field, you get back into conversations, you walk back into rooms, you become visible again, even if it feels risky.
Power is kept alive through circulation. If you're not seen, you're forgotten. If you're not heard, you're misinterpreted. If you're not present, someone else will be.
You don't need to be everywhere, but you need to be somewhere. Strategic presence, real presence, that's what cuts through the fog of irrelevance.
Start small. Reach out to someone you've distanced from. Attend something you'd usually skip. Speak where you've been silent. These moves signal something, not just to others, but to yourself.
It reminds you that the world didn't shut down just because you did. It's still moving, still shifting, still building alliances, and every day you stay behind the wall, you fall a little more out of rhythm.
And you don't rebuild power by hiding. You rebuild by stepping back into friction, into unpredictability, into opportunity. That's where your instincts wake up again.
It's also where people start to remember you, not just the name, but the energy, the influence, the presence that once disrupted the space and can do it again.
Because here's the secret. People don't stop respecting you when you fall. They stop respecting you when you disappear. Visibility carries memory, and memory fuels influence.
So while others retreat into silence, you choose circulation. You enter the conversation. You move. You observe. You let them see you adjusting in real time.
That alone separates you. While they stay locked in comfort, you evolve in public. That's risk, but it's also leadership. That's how you reestablish relevance without announcing it.
You don't have to explain where you've been. You just show up differently. You let your reappearance speak louder than any justification ever could.
And soon, the room recalibrates. Eyes shift. Assumptions get rewritten. The fortress you left behind becomes irrelevant because now you're back in the field and the game has changed.
So let's lock this in. Isolation feels safe, but it quietly strips you of influence. Not all at once, not with a bang, but slowly, quietly, until you realized you've built a kingdom no one sees and no one follows.
Fortresses give the illusion of protection, but what they really create is distance, and distance in the world of power is decay. Influence needs interaction, strategy needs feedback, vision needs visibility.
And it's not about being accessible to everyone. It's about staying engaged with the currents that shape the room you want to lead. You can't steer the ship from the shoreline.
People respect movement, not hiding. They respect leaders who step into tension, not those who vanish behind strategy. Presence is power, and presence doesn't happen behind walls.
So here's the challenge. Where have you built fortresses? What habits, excuses, routines have become walls that separate you from real influence?
And what would it look like to tear one of them down this week? Not recklessly, strategically. Re-enter the room, start the conversation, be seen where you've gone quiet.
Power isn't preserved in silence. It's sharpened through participation, through circulation, through presence, through connection.
Because the longer you hide, the harder it is to be remembered. And power, at its core, depends on memory, what people remember about you and what they feel when you reappear.
Next week, we go deeper into visibility, but through a different lens. Law 19, know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person, because not all attention is safe, and not every enemy is worth making.
Until then, stay present, stay visible.
And if you must build a wall, make sure it has a door you control and the courage to step through it when it matters most.